Start with a quick review for this book, The Book on the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are by Alan Watts. I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5. Always nice to listen to Watts. He has always some interesting things to say. I don't agree with all what he says, but it's definitely interesting and entertaining, that's for sure. Again, I don't agree with everything he says, that's why it's not a 5. There is some major leaps he's making, but overall, again, it's entertaining. Let's see the notes. First one is, it's hard to distinguish what is moving away from who, or maybe space is moving and everything else is stationary. So it's really hard to know what is moving from what. You have two. Which one is moving from who? You have three. You can say the majority has the say, but it's really hard to know. And maybe the space is expanding. Just interesting. The problem with cause and effect is that it's splitting events while it could be just one event. That's a problem with cause and effect. Is it one particular event or it's all connected? He obviously thinks that it's all connected. Our unconscious attention focuses awareness of one thing at a time, while reality is much more complicated than that. So our attention is only one sliver of everything else when we focus on things. And it's not the full story. It's much more complicated than that. We have two types of attention. One is just noticing, and the other is being conscious of it. So one of them is more shallow in a way. The next one is really being aware of being aware, something like that. Meta awareness. In the East, the ego is in the chest, while in the West, it's in the head between the eyes. Just the differences between the Western and Eastern philosophy, where the self is, the ego. Either in the brain or in the heart, in the body. We look for memories in order to remember who we are. That's how we remind ourselves who we are. Memories. The net is our attempt to make order out of chaos, but it's not a true division. That's what when we try to calculate, math, calculus, all of that is trying to calculate and understand reality. We put a net on things and try to calculate how things are moving, but it's not a true division. You can't do that division. It doesn't work. You can calculate, it could be useful, but it's not it. According to the author, just like events cannot be separated, we are not separated from the world. So that's one of his leaps. So it's like many events are connected and could not be separated. The same thing, we're not separated from the world. My problem is, yeah, obviously we're not separated, we're part of this world, but degrees of separation. Everything is not the same. There is a difference between one person to another. While we're the same, we're not the same at the same coin. The double bind is, for example, trying to relax or ought to love, and that's not you, all of which cannot be fabricated. So you ought to love, it doesn't work because loving is, you can't ought. You can ought to love or try to relax. Relax comes not automatically, but it could not be consciously fabricated. Side note, Alan often misses the fact that there is difference between the events. Not everything is connected. There are degrees of separation. That's what I said. It's like he thinks everything is connected and therefore everything is the same. And I think everything is connected, sure, but that doesn't mean that there is no degrees of separation. Me and the ground are somewhat separated. There is connection. We made from similar materials, sure, but it's not the same. And me and the person next to me, we have a lot of similarities, but it's different. And he says like it's all one. And that's when I have issues. Next one is, according to the author, we create the world. It's another part that it's a little problematic. I have a hard time believing in that. Generally speaking, like when there's a philosophical question, when a tree falls and no one hears it, does it make a noise? And yeah, maybe it doesn't make what I think about it is that maybe it doesn't make a noise that we consider the tree is falling, but vibrations and things like that are happening, and therefore it's not how we create the world. We create our version of the world, sure, but we do not create the world. The tree is there whether we look at it or not. Maybe it doesn't call a tree. You can call it, yeah, it doesn't call a tree, but whatever is there without us looking at it. According to the author, there is no differences between us and the outside world. It's the same idea. There is no separation between us and the world, and I think again, degrees of separation. The next one is, according to the author, we can't find it since it is ourselves. That's why when we look at it, we get into a loop in a way, because we're trying to look for ourselves and it cannot look for itself. Calling names, that's the last one here. Calling names on the other side just increases hatred and does not solve the problem. So that's one of the way to not to achieve peace is calling names. That's it for the notes. Again, definitely some interesting parts. I haven't wrote all of them. I would recommend, but there is those leaps that I don't fully identify with or agree with. Thank you.